Once upon a time in the windswept peninsula of Crimea, there was a boy who walked to the gym not to chase glory, but to escape grief. His name was Oleksandr Usyk. And this is not the story of a champion, not yet. This is the story of a boy who lost more than he ever admitted. A boy who fought not just opponents, but life itself. Before the stadiums, before the belts, before the dancing feet and Orthodox cross, there was hunger, loneliness, pain. Usyk was born on January 17, 1987, in Simferopol, Ukraine. His father was a military man, strict, disciplined, honorable. His mother worked hard to raise their children. They were not poor, but they were far from rich. He learned early that nothing in life was free, and no one owed him anything. But then came the day that changed everything. His father got sick. Cancer. For a young boy who looked at his father like a mountain, unshakable, strong, eternal, it was devastating. Watching that mountain shrink day after day until one morning, he didn't wake up. Usyk was just 12. He didn't cry in front of people, but inside, his world shattered, his protector was gone, and all that was left was the fight. After his father passed, something snapped inside Oleksandr. He stopped being a boy. He became a worker. Football was his first love. He played as a midfielder. Quick feet, big dreams. But training wasn't cheap. Boots, jerseys, travel, all expensive. And the family couldn't afford it anymore. So he shifted from football to boxing. He joined a local gym in Simferopol. The coaches noticed him, not because he was gifted, but because he refused to quit. He didn't have the best punches. His footwork was raw. His hands were slow, but he showed up every single day. They called him stubborn. He called it survival. He started training harder than anyone else. While others talked, he ran. While others shadowboxed, he studied legends. He watched footage of Muhammad Ali, Evander Holyfield, and Vasyl Lomachenko Sr.'s early school in Ukraine. Boxing didn't just give him strength, it gave him structure, a reason to keep waking up. Still, the road wasn't easy. Usyk's village wasn't known for producing champions. He fought in rundown gyms, slept on buses during tournaments, and went days eating only bread and soup. Every bruise was a reminder, this world doesn't give you anything, you take it. And still, he smiled. Not often, but when he did, it was pure. A smile that said, "You haven't broken me yet." By the time Usyk turned 19, his name began buzzing through Ukraine's amateur circuit. Not because of knockouts, but because of technique. He didn't fight like a heavyweight. He moved like a dancer. Light on his feet, unpredictable with angles, he confused his opponents and exhausted them. He studied not just punches, but patterns. He'd ask questions no one else asked. Why does this fighter drop his hand after a jab? Why does this man breathe heavy in round 3? He was becoming a student of war. In 2008, he made it to the European Championships, where he lost narrowly. It broke his heart, but he didn't let the failure define him. By 2011, he won gold at the World Championships in Baku, and in 2012, he captured Olympic gold in London, boxing's holy grail. He had made it, but even as the national anthem played and the medal hung heavy around his neck, he still felt incomplete, because no medal could replace the one thing he still didn't have: love. Around this time, just as the world began to recognize Oleksandr Usyk, the boxer, a woman named Yekaterina saw someone else. She saw Sasha, the young boy from Simferopol with sad eyes and a stubborn heart. They met through mutual friends. She was quiet, deeply spiritual, elegant in her simplicity. Usyk wasn't famous yet. He wasn't rich. He wasn't the undefeated champion, but he was honest. And that honesty pulled her in. They began dating slowly. He'd talk about his dreams, and she would listen like every word mattered. He'd come home from tough sparring sessions, and she'd have soup ready and a Bible verse marked for him. In a world full of chaos, she was peace. They eventually married, not in a palace, but in a small church. No paparazzi, no designer dresses, just two souls promising forever. And soon, they had children. First a daughter, then another, then a son. Family finally felt real. Now with purpose in his heart and peace at home, Usyk launched into the professional world like a storm. He didn't just win, he dismantled. Tony Bellew, Murat Gassiev, Myris Bridis. He became the undisputed cruiserweight champion, the first in history to do so in the four-belt era. And yet after every fight, no clubs, no scandals, no chaos, he would go home to his wife, to his kids, to his real life. He would post videos dancing with his daughters, reading scripture, doing push-ups in church halls. He didn't care about fame, he cared about faith, but the world kept pushing him higher. So he moved up to heavyweight, and in 2021, against all odds, he defeated Anthony Joshua, a giant of a man with all the advantages. Usyk stood there, hand raised, belts draped, and once again, eyes searching the crowd. For her, Yekaterina, his home. But glory comes and goes. In 2022, war returned to Ukraine. Russia invaded, the world watched in horror, cities were bombed, lives were shattered, and Usyk, who had just conquered the heavyweight throne, made a decision that shocked the world. He went back, not to box, but to fight. He joined Ukraine's territorial defense unit. He was given a gun, a helmet, and a vest. He left behind his belts, his fame, his career, and chose his country. And what did Yekaterina do? She didn't stop him. She supported him. With trembling hands and tearful prayers, she kissed him goodbye and told the children, "Papa's doing something brave. We must be strong." For weeks, she held the family together, hiding in shelters, rationing food, and still waiting. Eventually, Usyk returned, not the same man, but more whole than ever, because he had proven once again that his strength didn't come from muscles, but from meaning. 23, Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois' first matchup took place at Stadion Wrocław in Rout. Since that fight in 2023, both boxers have continued to ascend. Dubois defeated Jarrell Miller in December of 2023 before beating Filip Hrgović in June of 2024. That victory earned him the IBF World Heavyweight title, which he successfully defended against Anthony Joshua in September. Usyk fought Tyson Fury twice in this span, defending his titles and, in a way, pushed Fury into retirement. In 2023, Alex Krasiuk, the unified heavyweight champions promoter, revealed that Yekaterina got quite animated during Usyk's match against Daniel Dubois. Now, Usyk is the standout heavyweight of his generation. Usyk has not just cleaned out his biggest rivals, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and Dubois, but he has gone all the way around the block and defeated each of them twice. He dethroned Joshua in just his third fight as a heavyweight to become a unified champion, and it has been an upward trajectory ever since. The easy path is not one Usyk likes to explore. After becoming the first undisputed heavyweight champion of the four-belt era by beating Fury in 2024, Usyk had the option to defend that status by accepting a mandatory defense of his IBF strap against Dubois. However, he elected to vacate that title in order to pursue a rematch with Fury and record a second successive victory, before circling back to reclaim the IBF title from Dubois at Wembley. What he achieved today, it was designated by him a little bit more than a year ago. Aegis Klimas, Usyk's manager, said. His decision was to vacate the title and let Dubois beat someone, and then to fight for a third time for undisputed. That was his plan a year ago. He is not just a good boxer, but he is good mentally. Usyk is head and shoulders above any active heavyweight, with Fury offering his greatest test while Joshua and Dubois are several rungs down the ladder. Many predicting a win for Dubois on Saturday did so on the basis that Usyk, 11 years the senior of the Briton, must be ready to decline. That obviously isn't the case. But where does this victory, his 15th knockout, leave him in the all-time heavyweight rankings? Usyk has 8 heavyweight fights under his belt, and 6 of those have been for world titles. There's an argument that the current era lacks great depth in the heavyweight division when comparing it to the previous century. Through the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s, the likes of Ali, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman dazzled the masses. Going back further, Joe Louis made 25 successful defenses between 1937 and 1948. A place in the top 3 might be something to consider when we have a completed body of work to assess at the point Usyk, who could still have a couple of fights left, finally decides to hang up the gloves. But as an Olympic gold medalist, an undisputed cruiserweight champion, and 2-time undisputed heavyweight champion, a top 5 all-time spot feels right already. I think he's a legend, former world champion Carl Frampton said on DAZN. He can compete in any era. He's beaten everyone and 3 of the top guys twice. The list of serious contenders for Usyk is short. Queensberry's Frank Warren has seen 2 of his stable, Fury and Dubois, already go down against Usyk, but he has a 3rd candidate waiting in the wings. Joseph Parker is the interim WBO champion and kept a close eye on Usyk through fight week and on fight night. The New Zealander is on a 6-fight win streak and has previously held a world title. At the other end of the scale is bright young Briton Moses Atauma. The 20-year-old is unbeaten in 12 fights as a professional and has been hailed as the future of the division. Itauma has only gone beyond 2 rounds in 2 of his bouts and has 10 knockouts on his CV. But it feels premature to suggest he is ready for the greatest of this era. No one is yet to formulate a blueprint to even get close to defeating Usyk. Finding a current heavyweight that can match his all-round game has proved impossible, and it shows no signs of changing. But maybe the most remarkable thing about Oleksandr Usyk isn't just that no one has beaten him, it's that no one has even figured him out. In a heavyweight division full of giants, sluggers, and one-shot punchers, Usyk stands alone, a master of rhythm, of movement, of strategy. He doesn't just win fights, he solves them. Every round is a puzzle, every opponent a problem to decode. He doesn't rush, he doesn't panic, he reads you, breaks you down, makes you miss, makes you think, and then when you're too tired to adjust, he strikes, like a surgeon with gloves. Fury, Joshua, Dubois, they all came in with advantages. Fury had size and slickness. Joshua had strength and explosiveness. Dubois had youth and hunger, but none of them had what Usyk had, clarity of purpose. When Tyson Fury tried to bully him in the clinch, Usyk danced out and returned fire like lightning. When Joshua tried to box him from range, Usyk kept a rhythm so confusing that AJ looked lost, like a man with no map. When Dubois aimed low and tried to wear him down, Usyk absorbed it all, the pain, the controversy, and still came back to end the fight on his terms. Because that's who he is. He doesn't whine, he doesn't roar, he endures. And that endurance doesn't just come from training, it comes from life. From walking to the gym in the snow at 13, from sleeping on buses, from missing meals, from losing a father and hiding the tears, from carrying the weight of a nation when the bombs fell. When the war began, he was already the heavyweight champion of the world, but he chose to stand guard with a rifle instead of a title belt. What kind of man does that? Oleksandr Usyk, the man who refused to take the easy fight, who gave up his IBF belt to face Fury again. Not because it was smart, but because it was right. Because when you say you're the best, you don't avoid danger, you walk into it. And that's what separates legends from champions. Champions raise belts. Legends raise standards. We've seen greatness before. Ali floated through rounds like jazz. Foreman punched like thunder wrapped in muscle. Holyfield took wars no man should survive. Lennox Lewis brought balance and brilliance. Joe Louis dominated an entire era with surgical destruction. Fraser, pure grit. But Usyk is something else entirely.